All right. Well, this is another episode, a long overdue episode of 180 milliseconds too late, the SSA Rocket League podcast. And I'm going to be chatting with Snowyy, who's just returned from Saudi Arabia. From the Gamers8 tournament. I say returned, he's actually back in England, and then from England heading off to Dallas for Worlds in a week's time. So, Snowyy, you're bizarrely a lot hotter in the UK than you are where I am in South Africa.
Yeah, it seems like every time I come to the UK, there are record temperatures, and on the wrong side, on the hotter side. And because the country's built, uh, you know, to hold the cold, tend to suffer quite a lot. And like I said, I just came from Saudi, where the temperatures are ridiculous. I mean, literally like 45 every day, but they're completely ready for it. So everything is aircon. I mean, literally every inch of space where you need to live is aircon. So you don't even notice it. But here, yeah, no, you're suffering big time.
Yeah, it's a sort of the similar chaos you'd see in Saudi Arabia if it rains. If it rains for a full day in
Yeah.
Saudi, then everything will start to fall apart.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Well, listen, this Gamers8 tournament, it's quite a talking point for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that. But I think I'd like to start with, how did Orlando Pirates land up going there?
So pretty much just one day, I just got an email from the ESL team that was working the Gamers8 event, and it was pretty much just this long email that it explained the whole event, had brochures, explained the format and whatever. And basically, it was just an invite. So they went around and invited the best teams from each region. I'm sure you would have seen there was an APAC North team, APAC South team, obviously us, and then all the other regions were represented as well. So they just went around. Invited the teams that they thought were the best from each region, and obviously us, winning the majority of the regionals in South Africa, being the best team, they invited us, and yeah, that was pretty much the start of it.
Okay. And yeah, go ahead.
No, go on.
So, all right. Well, I think let's just take us through the experience. What was it like going there? How was the tournament run? Being there, being a part of it. Just give us the insight to the whole experience.
Well, this tournament, I think you might be tempted to say it's probably one of the best, maybe the best Rocket League event that's ever been, purely from just the way the event was run and like what the event was. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, we were treated like royalty. I mean, we stayed in a gorgeous hotel. I mean, everything was catered to food, snacks, you name it. We had a private practice room facility with PCs for the whole team and the coach. Yeah, no, it was incredible. I mean, the production, as most people would have seen, was incredible. They're filming us the whole time. The interviews they did were really fun and enjoyable. There was a lot of less serious interviews and more just like team, I don't know, I'd say kind of like social media content as a team. And yeah, I mean, pretty much everything about the event was incredible, and the venue was amazing. And the venue that we played in was only a small part of what was actually a much bigger festival. So Gamers8 obviously was, that's the Rocket League tournament and a few other titles, but it's actually a huge festival, and there's a huge area where it's just like a festival. They built it's called Riyadh Boulevard, and they built like a mini Times Square in there. There's like 1,000,001 activities, food places. I mean, you name it, everything was there, and yeah, no, it's just absolutely incredible.
Wow. And must have been quite something because I don't think Darth has left the country much. So it must have been quite an experience for someone like him.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't actually remember who, but I mean, it was definitely like a few people first time out of the country. I don't know if it was Darth and Skill, but it was definitely one of them at least. Yeah.
Okay, and all right. So now let's get into the Rocket League itself and how you felt about that. I mean, we all, excuse me, we all watching from here. And, it's a great moment to see a South African team out on a big stage, the main stage. But we knew it was going to be tough. But I don't know what was that part of the experience like, the actual competitive playing, the preparation leading up to your interaction with other teams, specifically the competitive Rocket League side of it.
It was pretty rough. uh, to be honest, we really just weren't prepared for this event at all. And even if we were prepared, it would still be really tough. But like I said, we got an invite via email, and we didn't really understand like the magnitude of this event.
Okay.
So we got invited like about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. And there was just like a lot of back and forth, a lot of radio silence, and we didn't really know, like, because obviously you assume, okay, we're going to another country, you need a visa, right? And obviously we saw the drama with the visa getting into America. So I was thinking, oh no, like here we go again, short notice. Now we're gonna get this visa done for Saudi. And for the longest time, they really just weren't clear with us about, what we needed to do specifically. And then so obviously, like I said, we didn't understand the magnitude of the tournament, and for the longest time, we didn't even know if we were actually going to go. I mean, obviously, we got the invite, and only about, I'd say, like a week, maybe less than a week before the actual event, they basically just came through and they were like, "Yo, we're going to do this government invite letter. It'll serve as a visa, and you're done." And that's
Wow.
it. And then we were like, "Wow, okay, this is really happening." So yeah, we were definitely underprepared for this event because it just came out of the blue. And like I say, literally, like we didn't actually know for sure if we were even going to go, particularly because of the visa situation and a bit of radio silence. And then obviously the format was Fusion.
Well, I have a question about the format. When did you know for certain that was the format? Because I didn't realize that until a couple of days before it was starting. It was like, oh, this is a sort of crew battle fusion event. I mean, how long before were you even aware it was going to be done that way?
I mean, we were aware from day one, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay, fair enough.
And obviously there was qualifiers as well that took place in America and
Okay.
EU, and those qualifiers were played in a Fusion format. So we knew it was going to be Fusion, and they actually changed it, like sort of on the first day or right before the event. They changed it so that it was a little more threes focused. So the first game, third game, fifth game, and game 7 are all threes games, whereas the normal Fusion format is starts 3v3, loser chooses again,
Okay.
and so on. And loser chooses every game, and you obviously
Okay.
can't choose the game that was played in the previous game.
Yes.
So they changed it so that it's choose threes. But we knew from the start that it was Fusion, and so that sort of added to being underprepared as well, because in theory Fusion helps us a lot because obviously where we most struggle is probably in the threes meta. That I would say that's probably where we the furthest behind. I think ones and twos can be caught up pretty quickly. I think there's not a lot to ones and twos, and obviously for me, playing a lot of ones in the past and getting pretty high ranked in ones, it should have been really good.
Yeah.
But obviously since like 3 years ago when I came back from EU, I kind of just stopped playing ones. So for the last 2 years, didn't play any ones at all, and it really showed. Like, I mean, obviously I played two incredible players, like
Yes.
two of perhaps the greatest ones players of all time, and the games weren't that bad. But if I was in form, it would definitely be a very different story. And in particular, which was so blatantly obvious, not playing once for so long, my kickoff is just non-existent. I mean, when I played Farhad, I lost every kickoff. I don't think I won a single kickoff, and you just cannot play once if you lose every kickoff. You lose possession every time, or it's a direct goal. It's just completely unplayable. So that obviously not knowing that we were going to be playing, and then me not really playing ones, and obviously we didn't know twos prep or anything like that. So yeah, we were just like hugely underprepared, and it really showed, like obviously in the games when we played, but also in scrims as well. I mean, we kind of got decimated in scrims very badly, but it's a learning experience at the end of the day.
All
And
right.
this, yeah.
Well, let's talk about a couple of things I want to talk. The format, first of all. What do you think about the Fusion format? Does it have a future? Should it be a format that we see more of? Does it help? Does it improve things? What are your thoughts around that particular format?
I think it's a really cool format. I don't think it should be like a mainstream format. I think it has a place as kind of like that odd tournament here and there that has that format, and there can be big tournaments like this one. I think that's cool if we have that, because the other gamers don't really get a lot of love, and in particular 1v1. We definitely need
Yes.
to see more of that. So yeah, I think it definitely has a place, but not as like we should play this every time. It should just be like the few tournaments here and there, few events that are like this format. Yeah.
So it shouldn't be like an RLCS format.
Nah, I don't think
Okay.
so.
And someone on stream the other night, someone mentioned in chat, and I thought this was it was quite a good suggestion that like everyone should be involved. So for example, if the 1v1 is you, then the 2v2 has to be the two remaining players. So everyone has to be involved. I don't know if that would be a change that makes a difference or adds to it or not.
Yeah, that definitely adds to it. And we weren't actually sure if that was going to be a rule or not before going to the event, because I think there has been previous Fusion events where that is a rule. So like if you play ones, you can't play twos. And
Interesting.
that does make a difference, because a lot of the time, specifically for ones and twos, if you have like a real world-class ones player, 90% of the time they're going to be the one you're going to put in twos as well.
Yes.
Um, so like, in this format, there's a lot of teams that have like, a tier one ones player, and if that rule is in place and they use him for the ones, it could really hurt their twos. So it doesn't give you as much maneuverability. Whereas this one, you just like, you throw your best ones player and you throw him in the twos as well, and you a powerhouse team. Whereas if that rule was in place, a team like that has an insane ones player, they might not do as well, because they have
Mm,
to just give him the ones game, hope he gets it, and then be less
mm.
competitive in twos. So.
And would you advocate for that in this format of tournament?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Because like I say, it also leaves one player to only play the threes games. So like if you're an insane ones player, you play ones and twos, and then obviously there's going to be another player that's always going to be playing the twos,
Mm.
and then one guy just sits out, which is not great, obviously.
Okay. All right. So for you, okay, then how much of a factor was because you mentioned earlier on about that they were filming everything, and they certainly were, and particularly with the ones. I mean, you're sitting there trying to have a ones game, you got a camera like right on you the whole time. Plus, you got the admins, and that's all in addition to the crowd that are watching. So I don't know how much of that played a part uh, in the nerves, the tension, and not being completely on your game, either in the ones and obviously the twos and threes.
I don't think it played a huge part, to be honest. Obviously there was not much pressure on us anyways, given the teams we were playing. And also the crowd was mainly a Saudi crowd. So like when we played Al in the first game, um, it was pin drop silence whenever we scored or did anything. And when they just have a sniff at a goal, the crowd's going, insane. So that didn't really make much of a difference. Like I say, it's just, I mean, also like in the ones, obviously all the attention is on you. And there was a tweet showing like there's like 7 people, like both your teammates, this and this guy, that guy, everything's
Mm,
focusing on you. But it didn't really make a difference, to be honest. It was just,
okay.
being underprepared, like not having a ones game after
Yes.
not playing for 2 years. So yeah.
All right. Well, now let's talk about the lessons learned. What do you take away from this? How does it help you preparing for Worlds? I think it was very nice, especially for Darth and Skillsteel, who certainly haven't had this level of exposure and haven't been to international lands and all that. So it's a little bit of like, oh, okay, we've got. I think it's important from that point of view. But what are the lessons? What do you take from this?
As far as lessons go, I think we just have like a really good idea of what will be required to compete going into Worlds. In a lot of the games and the scrims, we saw that our coordination as a team, like lacking, is really really punished by these guys. I mean, a lot of the teams that we played and scrimmed, all of them are really like insanely good at breaking through defenses that are really good. And then if you just mess up and you just give them space, they don't need that to score already. So you give them that, and then it becomes very bad. So yeah, I think it just gives us an idea of what we need to work on, and a lot of obvious things as well, like
Mm.
just general speed, mechanical errors. Yeah, it was just like a nice little taste there before Worlds. Yeah, it basically just gives us an idea of how we need to play to be competitive.
And so coming out of that, I mean, World starts in 2 weeks from now, around 2 weeks from now, and the whole team will assemble. How much time of preparation are you guys going to have before the start of Worlds?
So we're flying out on the 25th, and we have a boot camp from the 25th until the start of World, just on the 2nd or 3rd or something. So we'll have about a week and a half, 2 weeks of prep,
Okay.
which honestly is probably not enough really to,
Mm,
to close the gap. Um, but it'll certainly help. I mean, it's absolutely better than just rocking up like we did to
sure.
this event, and getting smacked, like, not seeing it coming. So yeah, it'll definitely help, that 2 weeks. And like I said, this event was a nice taster. So, with that fresh in the memory, we'll use, everything that we saw in this event to try and help us get to a better level.
And is there anything, the boot camping? Is there anything you can say about what that boot camping is going to look like? What do you actually do while boot camping, and where and how and anything around that?
So I mean, we'll be boot camping near the venue in Dallas.
Okay.
So obviously it'll be an NA boot camp, which, I mean, I don't want to sound picky, but obviously playing in EU is way better. Like, it's just more stacked. Um, and yeah, pretty much our boot camp will just be trying to put in as many hours as possible. Because obviously this will be the first time that a full South African team gets the chance to play in a major region on low ping. So literally just playing the game, playing ranked, whatever it is, six mans, you name it, is going to be beneficial no matter what.
Mm.
But obviously we'll be trying to get as many scrims as possible, and working very hard off the back of those scrims to try and make progress. And it will definitely be a difficulty getting enough high level scrims. That's something we experienced at this event. It's not easy to get a
And
lot of scrims.
is that because teams are sort of egoing and not really wanting to give you the attention or the time, or what's the issue there?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of them just, they're like, it's an African team, like we can't be bothered. And others are just, they don't scrim a lot anyways. So,
Okay.
and I don't really blame them, to be honest, because, if you play a team that's worse than you, it doesn't really benefit you at all. So you kind of just waste your hour. But yeah, but I mean, we'll try, and I'm sure we'll get a sufficient amount of scrims.
Okay, well, that sounds like it's gonna be pretty intense. So now going back to the Gamers8 thing for a bit, I'm curious to know how this impacts Rocket League going forward, and what how you've thought about it. I mean, a $2 million tournament over 4 days. RLCS is $6 million over 10 months or whatever it is. So
Mm.
it's quite something. Does this change expectations? How do you see this impacting the esport going forward?
I think it's going to have a huge impact, honestly. Because, and I mean, you asked me about the event earlier, and I said a few things and how incredible it was. Honestly, there's so many small details and things to this event that, like, I would struggle to name all of them in one go off the top of my head. But it's going to make a huge impact, and purely because of the reason, like, they've upped the standard. And I can say confidently that I think the experience that we had at this event will be better than Worlds. And I think, probably you've seen a lot of the other pros saying that the experience they had at this event was better than majors or RLCS
Mm,
in general. And that is really huge because, for an outside organization like Gamers8 to come in and on their first attempt, put on a tournament like this with a $2 million prize pool and pretty much best Psionics in every aspect, in production quality, in hospitality, player management, activities surrounding the event, interviews. I mean, obviously we haven't been to RLCS events before,
Yes.
but from what I heard from the players that have, they sort of agree on those points. And it's really important to have an event like this because it's essentially competition, right? Obviously, both, it's Rocket League, but it's another organization now. So when Sonics sees this and they hear the players' feedback, they're going to be like, wow, okay, maybe we need to step it up as well.
Mm.
And I think Gamers8 will be back again next year. And I think it will be even better, to be honest. Like I said, this was their first attempt. And, if they come back again next year and it's even better, and RLCS doesn't improve, it's gonna really like set down the marker for Rocket League events as a whole. And yeah, I mean the prize pool in particular is kind of crazy because this event just out of nowhere, boom, bigger prize pool than Worlds. I mean we came in the last prize bracket, like 18th to 24th, and we got 15K dollars. I mean that's an entire split,
If you
more than an entire split.
if you win every
Yeah,
regional.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you win 3 regionals in a split, you wouldn't even make that much for coming last in this event. If you look at wildcard, coming last at wildcard, you get $6,500. It's not even
Wow.
half. So
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. And like I said, there were so many things to this event that it was just absolutely insane. And another thing is they had activities planned for us. So obviously you play the tournament, it's serious, you need to do interviews, photos, videos, all that kind of stuff. But then, once the serious business is over, they're like, hey, here's a huge variety of activities, pick and choose. And it's not at your cost at all. Like they just sort it out for you and you
Wow.
do it. I mean, if you look at the game and Gladiators guys on Twitter, you'll see they were quad biking in the dunes. That was one of the activities. We went to Skybridge to look at the view. Yeah, it's just a whole nother level that this tournament has taken it to. And yeah, that's really important for Rocket League as a whole and Rocket League events going forward.
It does definitely put a bit of pressure on Sonics, I think, because they've wanted to keep quite a tight control on the game and how it's played competitively and so on. And there's a general sort of $15,000 prize pool cap for tournaments organized outside of RLCS, which makes it really, really difficult. So I mean, obviously, it was very hard for them to say no to a $2 million tournament, even though, I mean, they would have been very aware of the pressure that this is going to be put on them to expand the game. But now that it's done, it's set a standard, it's set a precedent, and I think begins to open the door for other organizations, other brands to come in who are going to go, well, listen, we're not going to. There's no point in us being here for a $15,000 tournament. We got to make this big and huge. And then, of course, your expectations, the expectations of all the pros who've been there. They go, okay, well, this is what's possible. This is what we then come to expect from the premier tournament of the game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm even surprised they allowed this tournament to go ahead, to be honest. And that whole thing of the $15,000 prize rule, I think that just has to go. Honestly, that limits Rocket League from moving up as an esport as a whole. And events like this just prove it. I mean, imagine that limit was gone however many years ago. So you can't say for sure, but there might have been events like this, multiple events like this happened already. So yeah, it definitely puts a lot of pressure on them, and I think that's a good thing.
I do think it's a good thing, and I imagine. I think they were put in a difficult position. Now, you say you're surprised that they sanctioned it. I imagine they weren't entirely happy, but I think the upset or the flashback, if they'd refused it, would have been huge. I mean, can you imagine when it gets out and pros go, hold on, we were denied a crack at a $500,000 prize? I think that the fallout would have been massive.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, it sounds like an incredible experience, and I would love to have been there. But it sounds like you guys got the absolute most out of that experience, and a little bit of a taster on some high level competition, and now on to Worlds, and then in a few weeks we have a whole different conversation because then the season's over and we look forward to the future and what the possibilities are then. But in the meantime, Snowy, to you and Orlando Pirates, and of course Bravado. I know Happy Meal's already in the US. He wants to get a sort of jump start on getting in some practice. I think his team only arrive sort of a week or so before. But either way, it's a massive time for SSA Rocket League.
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment. This little sort of, month stretch is going to be the beginning of the rest of the SSA's, the SSA's regions future
Mm,
in Rocket League.
mm.
So yeah, it's a huge time, and hopefully come Worlds, both South African teams can put on a show and do good things and start this time off on a good note.
Well, I know we're certainly all going to be watching, and I'm very conflicted because obviously I'm far too emotionally invested. So, which means I struggle. My level of tension, even just watching you guys play, it gets a little high. But it was wonderful to see you guys at Gamers8 out on that huge stage and a huge fuss being made about you and what you're doing. It was honestly such a thrill to see, and I can't wait for it to be repeated at Worlds. And yeah, the best of luck. I hope it is. I hope you go a little further than you allowed yourself to think you might.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right. Well, no doubt we'll have a conversation in a few weeks. But in the meantime, the best of luck with your preparations, and just go and have a wonderful experience. It's awesome for you and for us.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. We will definitely give it our best shot.